NBA ratings were down for a while, but not anymore because it's playoff time. Time to crown a champion, Grant. You excited? Fired up?
I'm excited. As you know, NBA is my favorite sport. Love me some NFL. Love all the other great sports we got. But this is my time of the year. I am locked in.
Again, my issue is it's going to be football season before we crown a champion. But I'm excited about it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I mean, if you're missing the NFL that much, you got the draft coming up at the end of the month, and you can bet on that. You can get excited about your favorite team. We know the Patriots are taking Will Campbell. You don't even need to watch it. We know what's happening.
The draft's interesting because I don't really care about the draft, but I do care about the draft. It's a weird mix. Like, this is cool, but we kind of know what's going to happen. Oh, well, my team gets a guy that's going to make my team go. Who cares? Like, it's not football season. Football's played in August with the X's and the O's. It's not played during the draft. The NFL's made the draft more of a big deal than it actually is. We had WNBA draft last night, though. Shout out Paige Beckers going first overall. LSU, who's going? Haley Van Lith or something's going to play with Angel Reese again. That didn't work out once, and we're going to try it again. I saw your tweet, Grant.
Yeah, I was gonna say I tweeted the exact same thing. I said it's not like we haven't solved this before. I'm sure this will work out just fine. That's got to be a thing that front office take into consideration if players get along. I'm not saying they didn't get along, but we know that Haley Van Lith didn't look like Haley Van Lith at LSU, and I guess we'll see how it works in the pros.
The best thing last night was all the Dallas people being like, we got our new Luka Doncic, the WNBA Dallas crowd. We got our new Luka Doncic. No, you didn't. You didn't. I'm sorry. I love Paige. I'm a UConn guy. I love UConn. With that being said, Paige cannot fill the void in a WNBA franchise that Luka Doncic had with the Dallas Mavericks.
I mean, Luka's like Luka's a ring and an MVP away from probably being a top 25, top 20 NBA player of all time. Is Paige going to hit that? That's lofty expectations to say that's who she's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard. And also, I was wondering this too. Why the hell? And I know it's sponsorship, but if we're trying to like separate and hoist the WNBA game up, why do they have Dallas Mavericks logos on their jersey? The wings have Mavericks logos on them.
I don't know. I'm not in charge of the creative direction of the franchise.
That's bad creative direction. It's really bad. I was tweeting that. Like, why do they have that? It's like, oh, sponsorship. Like, the NBA keeps them afloat. I understand that. But why would you put it on there? That still makes no sense. The Mavs don't need it. Anyway.
While we're talking about the draft, Tanner, former Virginia Tech player, transferred to Kentucky, Georgia Amore, was styled by Russell Westbrook. He designed her outfit. She was taken with the 6th pick. Thought that was pretty cool.
That's the only thing Russell Westbrook can do right now.
Hey, easy. I mean, I don't disagree, but easy.
Russ, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 44. He actually was good this year. Russ was balling.
He was all right. I mean, he's potentially part of the reason Mike Malone got fired. Apparently that was a rift because Malone was playing him over Jalen Pickett.
The funniest thing the other day was Jokic was on the whiteboard during a timeout, like coaching up the team. And who's the interim head coach now?
David Adelman.
Yeah, they asked him, they were like, hey, well, are you okay with Jokic doing this? He's like, yeah, he can do whatever he wants. And so everyone was saying Jokic had something to do with the firing because he wasn't happy with Michael Malone's coaching. And that's why he was on the whiteboard during the timeout. I don't know if that's true or not. But shout out to Jokic. Maybe he goes into coaching and overseas when he's done.
Oh, I was going to say, you saved it with overseas there. When Jokic retires, he's getting out of America as quick as he can. But you're right. Maybe he coaches a Serbian team. I can see that.
He still wants to win, though. That's the thing. That's the mistake that we make talking about Jokic. He still wants to go out and win championships, even though he doesn't want to be here. Like, as soon as the season ends, he wants to go back and ride horses. And if they lose early, I don't think it's going to bother him when he goes on his vacation in Serbia, but he still wants to win when he's on the floor.
No, he's a competitor. To be as good as he is, you have to be competitive. He might not love America. He might not even love basketball, but I think as soon as the whistle blows and it's like, I have to go out there and compete, like it's just that mental side takes over. Everything else goes by the wayside. He'll do whatever it takes to win.
So, Grant, before we talk about the play-in and before we talk about, the narratives going around the NBA, people got to go check out WSN.com. Because the World Sports Network is the network that you need to check out for all your betting promo codes, your betting picks, betting analysis, everything you need to know to be a better is on WSN.com, and that is linked in the description below. So why wouldn't the people go check it out?
Well said, Tanner. I've got picks for some of the play-in games. We got other experts on the team. They've got picks up for the play-in. We'll be keeping you in the loop on, like Tanner said, promo codes, futures odds, game picks, props, parlays, all that stuff. It will be at WSN.com.
And that leads right in to football season, which is very exciting because, as I said, the NBA playoffs goes for like 4 months. So, Grant, I'm hearing a little buzz around the internet right now. The Oklahoma City Thunder are not going to the NBA Finals. That's the narrative on Twitter right now. As good as they've been this season, and we've talked about it on the show, but as good as they've been, there's a lot of people that don't believe in the Thunder. More don't believe in the Thunder than believe in the Thunder. Why is that?
I thought we were going to start with the play-in. I didn't realize we were going to go big picture here. But
we're going big picture right away because that's what I've seen on Twitter. And I got to talk about what the people want to talk about.
Well, why don't the people believe in the Thunder? So I'll throw some numbers here at you. So the Thunder, first of all, best team in NBA history against the spread. So if you're better, that's important. Also the highest average point differential in NBA history. So right off the bat, nearly a 70-win team. Legitimate arguments to say they are the best quote unquote team in NBA history. Obviously, we know they aren't, but if you didn't know anything about them, if you hadn't watched their games, whatever, and you just saw those achievements, highest point differential, best record against the spread, you'd be like, okay, I can make a case about that. So we know how dominant they are. They've got a 60% chance to win the West, according to the sports books, like a 40% chance to win the NBA Finals, again, according to the betting odds. All this stuff they've got going in their favor. The reason people are against them is I think we've seen them against the new look Lakers, and they couldn't guard them the first time. And in the second one, as much as the Thunder were getting anything they wanted, they were still losing when Luka was ejected halfway through the fourth quarter. And of course, it was a BS ejection that later got rescinded. And you look around the West, people still believe in the Warriors. Obviously, they got to get out of the play-in, but it's the same thing of there are superstars in the Western Conference. LeBron and Luka are there. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler are there. Nikola Jokic is there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a superstar, but he's not a proven playoff performer. It also remains to be seen how he'll hold up if he doesn't get his normal whistle, if he's subjected to a playoff whistle. And then can you win with Jalen Williams being your second best guy, with Chet Holmgren being your third best guy? This is something I've said on the show before. The Thunder have the best team in the NBA from 1 to 12. It's not even remotely close. But do they have the best 1 to 7, 1 to 8? No, they don't. And that's what matters in the playoffs. Depth wins you regular season games. Superstars and your critical role players, they win you playoff games. So if we're looking at 1 to 7, in the West, I like the Lakers better. I think you could make an argument the Timberwolves are better. Now, I think the style of play and everything still favors the Thunder, but I'm saying the playing field is much closer. And then on the Eastern Conference, with Boston, I like their 1 to 7 better. Cleveland is right there with them. So that's where I think as far as the odds you're getting for the Thunder, if there was a way to bet no on the Thunder to win the West, no on the Thunder to win the Finals, I would hammer that because I think these odds are over accounting for regular season versus playoffs.
Yeah, that's well said. I don't think you can put them on the same level as the Boston Celtics. And before we talk about the playing grade, I just want to ask you one question. You know who isn't, or let me rephrase that. You know who's not as good as Jason Tatum?
I mean, a lot of people.
SGA. Anyways, Grant, we got the play in. So 4 games, 4 big games, obviously going to set the stage for the playoffs here. We're going to talk about tonight's game, and then we'll obviously pivot into tomorrow. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Warriors lose tonight. I am taking the Warriors -7. I wouldn't mind seeing them lose because if they lose and then they win their next game, they're going to go play OKC in the first round. And I would absolutely love that series right off the bat for the Thunder. That would be brutal. You got the experience of the Golden State Warriors going against the young OKC Thunder. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
It would be a very fun series. I think it would be the worst break possible for the Warriors because obviously Thunder best regular season team in the West, and they are a young team that got a week off. The Warriors are an old team who played a do or die, quote unquote, against the Clippers, went to overtime, lost. In this scenario you're proposing, they lose the do or die on Tuesday, and then they got to play on Thursday. So they win that, and then the series starts on Sunday. So I think they would probably start that series down 0-2. I I think they would be too beat up. Steph Curry's got the thumb issue. Jimmy Butler's got the thigh contusion. There seems to be some questions with the rotation. Jonathan Kuminga didn't play on Sunday. So I think that could get competitive, probably be a 6 or 7 game series. I would take the Thunder in that scenario. Now, if you told me both teams had 2 weeks off and then they played, maybe my opinion changes. But in that context, I would give it to the Thunder.
All right, so let's start with Grizzlies Warriors tonight, because ultimately I do have the Warriors covering 7 points and not being in that situation to play against the Thunder in the first round. But looking at this one, you got the Warriors -7, total set at 229. Money line is Super Juice -305 there. A couple trends to note here for this game. The Warriors have won each of their last 9 home games against the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies have failed to cover the spread in 12 of their past 13 games as underdogs. How do you see this one playing out, Grant?
So I actually loved a lot of those numbers you threw out there. Very important. Again, guys, please hit the subscribe button. You're going to get information like this. This is awesome. I just finished writing my preview of this game for WSN.com. So Tanner, if you or anyone listening to this would like to check it out, you can find it there. There is one really big stat for me. I mean, there are many, but one that really leaps off the page. So both of these teams had top 10 point differentials in the NBA, and that's what you're going to get with most playoff teams. If you look at how they performed against opponents who also had top 10 point differentials, the Golden State Warriors were 15-14. They had a net rating of -3.2. The Memphis Grizzlies were 6-21 with a net rating of -7. The season series went to Golden State 3-1. They played 2 weeks ago. Steph Curry had 52 points. Ja Morant had 36, but Golden State still won by 9 points. So really, all of these signs are pointing you to Golden State. If you want to dive into other numbers, like Memphis is a bad defensive rebounding team, Golden State is a good offensive rebounding team. Memphis commits or allows the second most free throws per game. Golden State, with Jimmy Butler there, have been getting to the free throw line at a high rate. I believe they have the highest free throw differential in the NBA since Jimmy Butler showed up. So all of these metrics favor the Golden State. The thing you have to look at, which is something that I just referenced, is Golden State is coming off of an overtime game on Sunday. They're starting a 37-year-old and 2 35-year-olds. Steph Curry's injured. Jimmy Butler is injured. How is that going to affect them in this game? I really hate picking a spread pick here. In all honesty, I would take the Grizzlies there, but I'm not going to. My actual play, my actual approach for this game is I'm going to hope that the Grizzlies go up 10-2, 8-0, something like that. And I would live bet the Warriors money line because the Grizzlies' performances in these games against the top teams have shown they are not a good team. Their clutch metrics also very bad. So the Warriors, I trust them to win this game. I just don't trust them to make it a blowout with what's been going on lately. Again, injuries and fatigue.
My thing is 7 points really going to be a blowout in this spot when we're going to get the extended foul calls. We're going to get teams playing tougher down the stretch. I think when you look at how beat up Golden State is, you can take it from the perspective, well, they have the experience and they know how to get it done in these spots where you can't say the same about the Memphis Grizzlies with all the experience that Golden State has. So I would be leaning towards the Warriors here. -7. I think it's going to be tight, and I think it's going to be like an 8 to 10 point win, which I still think is a very close game down the stretch here. But I think being at home with that experience, despite being a little beaten up, I still expect Steph Curry to have a big game. I still expect Draymond to lock it down low. I still expect this Golden State team to come out and play on fire. So I would be on the -7. Probably a better strategy is waiting for that live bet, but who knows? You may not get it in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you might not. Also important to remember here, just something that adds another layer to this matchup. Go back to 2021, which was the first year of the play-in tournament, if I'm not mistaken. The Warriors lose to the Lakers in the 7-8. They go home to face the Grizzlies, who won the 9-10 game. The Warriors were pretty sizable favorites in there. This is back when the Grizzlies, like Morant, Jaren Jackson, Bane, those guys were all like 21, 22 years old. Warriors are big favorites at home. Grizzlies beat them. So the Grizzlies know we can go on the road and beat Golden State in the play-in. And then, of course, the next couple of years, there was the rivalry. Draymond grabbed his towel and was waving it and screaming, whoop that trick when they lost in Memphis. Like, there is a rivalry between these games, and that also kind of feeds into what I'm saying of if a team's going to get up for someone else, specifically a team that's favored to beat them, I think it could end up being closer than you'd probably expect because the metrics say this should be a Golden State cover, no doubt.
Yeah, and when you look at the totals in these games so far, 229.5 seems like a little bit of a steal. I know defense is going to step up in the playoffs tonight, but overall, these games have been very high scoring. Even the one that the Grizzlies dominated the Warriors, they put up 144 points. So there could be a lot of offense in this game tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but I will be taking Golden State minus the 7, and I will be waiting for a Ja Morant grenade celebration tonight. What is he doing? He seems like he's playing in a little too much to the guns and the grenades for where his history is in the league.
It's not a grenade, Tanner. It's he's releasing his words to the fans and blocking out their noise. That's what he said.
Well, that's, I mean, you can cover that one up a little more than going like this, obviously.
It's like when Young Thug was on trial and he had to explain to the judge what his lyrics and everything meant, and he said thug is not thug. It stands for truly humble under God. That's what Ja Morant is doing. Like, take the words out of my mouth, throw them into the crowd. That's what he's doing.
Pull the pin on the grenade and throw it into the crowd. That's what Ja Morant's doing. Atlanta Hawks versus the Orlando Magic. This is the first game of the night. -5 for the Orlando Magic. They're at home. The total is set at 217. Got some trends in this one too. The Magic have been very good at home. The favorites have covered the spread in each of the Magic's last 4 home games. That doesn't mean they've done it, but the favorite has, and they've won 8 of their last 9 games against the Eastern Conference. This is my favorite bet of the night between the two. I do like Orlando -5. I think their defense is going to carry them over the edge here. When you look at the offensive ratings, Atlanta has the edge, but defensively, I think Orlando is going to be too much. And then some young guys are going to step up for Orlando, like Paolo Banchero, and find a way to win this game and cover. -5's a small enough spread where I feel if it comes down to free throws, Orlando should be comfortably ahead by the end.
So I think this will be a lower scoring game. You're getting that from the total being down 11 points from that Grizzlies Warriors game. I think this is a pretty fair price on the spread. And because these teams, if I'm expecting a defensive battle, then I would expect the spread to be closer and whatnot. Kind of like with that Warriors Grizzlies match, I don't really love picking a spread here. I'm probably going to be looking at some props. One of those, I'm going to go Trae Young on the under. And now that probably limits Atlanta's ability to win this game, but I'm actually going to go the under on his threes because we know Trae Young is 5'11", 6 feet tall, 160 pounds. We've seen it in the past, specifically when he's run into the Miami Heat. If he faces a physical defense in the playoffs or the play-in, it gets to him a little bit, and it's understandable. I mean, he can't really help it when he's going against guys who are 10 inches, 50, 60 pounds heavier than him. But Trae Young, throughout his NBA career, averaged 25 and 10, which, by the way, we got to put some respect on his name. His career average is 25 and 10. We don't think of him being that good, but he is. But he did that shooting 43% from the field, 35% from 3. In his playoff and play-in career, he's averaged 26 and 9 on 40% from the field, 30% from 3. In the play-in last year, he had 22 points, 10 assists on 33% shooting. So his efficiency understandably drops in the postseason. Orlando has one of the best defenses in the NBA, allowed the fewest points per game over the last month, also allowed the lowest 3-point percentage in the entire league. So again, Trae Young under on his threes is a pick I really like. And then I also might look at Zachary Risachet, honestly, because he's been having some really good performances as of late. He averaged about 14 points per game in April, 16 points per game in March. He's been showing up, and I expect the Magic to allocate their resources to Trae Young. That's going to leave somebody open, and why not the rookie?
He has made 2 or more threes, I believe, in 4 of his past 5. So look for him to have a big game, like Grant was saying. What side would you take, Grant, if you had to pick, -5 or +5?
If I had to pick, I would take the Hawks +5, to be completely honest.
All right, we're heads up on each side.
The playoffs are, there's the phrase defense wins championships has ruined sports because it's true. You're not going to win without a good defense, but if you can't score when you need to, you also won't win. And the Magic's whole offensive philosophy is let's rely on Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero to score in the mid-range. If you're going to play an entirely 2-point game against an Atlanta team that is bad on defense and can go through lulls, but they can score. That's the one thing they can do. They can score, they can shoot. It doesn't shape up well for them. Orlando has the worst 3-point percentage in the entire NBA. It's just hard to get big wins when you're capped in your ability to score points.
There you go. Well, Grant, you were going to be on +5. I'll take -5. I think defense is going to find a way to win tonight, and the big guys step up like Boncaro and Wagner. Moving into tomorrow night, we got Heat versus Bulls at 7:30 on ESPN. Now, the winner of this game will face the loser of the Magic game for a chance to go to the playoffs. This one is a Bulls favored by 1.5. They are at home in this game. Total set at 218.5. What do you like here?
The Bulls are favored, which actually does surprise me a little bit. The Heat have started to figure things out a little bit. Now, I say that Chicago's also been playing some pretty impressive basketball on offense. Miami's been a top 3 defense over the final months to close the regular season. So 2 teams that are both trending up, but also have clear limitations. I would take the Heat just because I do trust Eric Spoelstra in this sort of environment. And I think that there's more they can go to. I think they have more levels to hit. But honestly, if you take the Bulls, I would not be mad at you at all.
Yeah, I think the Heat +1.5, bam, finds a way to get it done for them. This is an interesting game too, just because you look at these two teams as a whole: 37-45 for Miami, 39-43 for Chicago. Neither team's been reliable this season. You might as well flip a coin because that's what the spread says here. But I'll go with the road team in the Miami Heat. And then, Grant, if you have Miami facing off against the loser of that Bulls versus, or not, of that Hawks versus Magic game, who would you take?
I would have to see how the games go, just because that does matter. It plays a big role. If the Hawks upset the Magic, I could easily see the Heat beating the Magic, because I mean something's going wrong. The shot's not falling. Young team, they're probably going to start to panic. I would take the Heat to beat them.
Isn't that an issue though? Like that's where I'm at. If you go 37-45, should you be in the play-in? Should you have a chance of sniffing the playoffs? That blows my mind that we get this in this current NBA playoff format.
So I recently wrote an article that remapped how the playoffs would work, and I want your thoughts on it, because I think the play-in tournament has been an overall success. I think anytime you can add more excitement to sports, it's for the better. But it does stick out to me that you've got 2 teams, the Warriors and the Grizzlies, are both 48-34, and they're in the play-in. And then, like you said, you've got a team that's 37-45, and they're also in the play-in. Those should not be equals. So here is my proposal, and I want you to tell me what you think. So 6 rules to rebuild the NBA playoffs. We are going to go to a draft process. So rule number 1, the first seed in each conference gets to select their first round opponent. So that would be the Cavs and the Thunder. Take the top 8 seeds, and none of this 9-10 nonsense. Look at 2 through 8. You pick who you want. Step number 2, the lowest remaining unpicked team picks their opponent. So that would most likely be the 2 seed, unless the 1 seed says we want to play the 2. Then you're going to do that again. So the lowest remaining seed picks their next opponent, and then the 2 unpicked teams are put together and they would face each other. Couple additional rules here. If a team drafts an opponent that finished with a top 4 record in their conference, then the team that was drafted gets home court advantage. This is to protect the importance of the regular season. So let's say the Thunder draft the Clippers for whatever reason. The Clippers were the 4 seed. Or no, sorry, the Nuggets. The Thunder draft the Nuggets. Well, the Nuggets had a top 4 seed. They would get home court advantage because we still want the regular season to matter. It shouldn't be 1 seed or bust. And then the playoff bracket is ordered by the seeds of the drafting teams. So the team that has the first pick, they're at the top. The team that has the second pick, they're at the bottom. And 3rd and 4th are in the middle.
I like it. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like this format. Don't get me wrong. I like the current state we're in. I like what you pitch. My only thing is, if you're 37-45, you should be nowhere near the playoffs. If you're 39-43, you should be nowhere near the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Here, let's try it out. So the Cavs, we'll do the Eastern Conference. So it goes Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, Pistons, Magic, Hawks. If you're the Cavs with the first pick, who are you taking? Personally, I'm probably taking the Magic because they can't score.
Yeah, I'm taking the Magic as well. I'm taking the weakest team. I mean, Hawks definitely present more threats in a 7-game series because of their ability to score. I think overall, the Cavs would be able to shut down a team that couldn't score for 7 games rather than a Hawks team that could get hot and maybe shoot the lights out for 4 games enough to win.
So the 2 seed Celtics, they would pick the Hawks. Agreed?
Yeah.
You would get the Knicks at 3, and they could pick Pacers, Bucks, or Pistons. I personally think they would pick the Bucks because Damian Lillard's out. The Pistons were 3-1 against the Knicks this year. The Pistons are also playing well. They're confident. Whereas the Bucks, it's really just a one-man show with Giannis.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So then you would get Pacers, Pistons. So the matchups would be the 1 versus the 7, the 2 versus the 8, the 3 versus the 5, and the 4 versus the 6. And I just like that it adds a level of intrigue because you don't know what you're going to get. And it's also drama. It's theater. It's headlines. Maybe, I don't know if you remember this last year, but there was a conversation that if the Lakers were going to beat the Nuggets because they had lost 11 straight games or whatever, they should want to face them in the first round while LeBron is healthy and Anthony Davis is healthy and everything, blah, blah, blah. What if the Nuggets drafted the Lakers? They said, screw whoever we were going to play. We want you. That it creates drama, and it's good for the sport.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It would be cool to have a show on ESPN with these teams making their selections on who they want to play. That would be really awesome to see. Now, again, I like the current format. I do. I don't think there's need for a change, but it's hard when the current format yields teams that are below 500 getting a chance to go to the playoffs. And again, I don't think many of these teams, in the East at least, I don't think any of the play-in teams have a chance of making a run in the playoffs. In the West, different story. I think you can make the case for a few teams there. But in the East, these teams are probably going to make the playoffs, and then you're done in the first round. So it kind of defeats the purpose of what the play-in should be in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. And I also feel like the top 8 seeds, if the Mavericks, if Anthony Davis and Kyrie and everybody was healthy, it would be different. But because they're not, it's really still the top 8 teams in the West. Yes, 2 of those are in the play-in. And yes, those 2 teams, the Warriors and Grizzlies, maybe they could go on a run, but under the old playoff system, they would still be there. And it was almost a punishment because the Clippers and the Timberwolves and the Nuggets, the teams who escaped the play-in, now they get a week off. The Warriors and the Grizzlies have basically the same record as them. And again, they're 48-34. You've got a team that's 37-45 in the same spot they're in the play-in. But the Grizzlies and the Warriors aren't going to get any rest. It's a major disadvantage for them.
Yeah, the West is loaded. That's the bottom line. Looking at this next play-in game for Wednesday night, Mavs versus Kings. What do you think Nico Harrison's doing, Grant, watching this game? You think he's a little nervous?
He shouldn't be. He pulled off the dream trade. He got Anthony Davis, best perimeter or best interior defender in the sport. They got PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, great interior defense. That's all it takes to win championships. He should be fine.
I mean, he didn't want to pay. He didn't want to pay the money. But he's definitely went through it. The Luka game back in Dallas, all the fire Nico chants. You got Mark Cuban just on the sidelines. I don't know how Dallas recovers long term from this. They have rocked the interior of this franchise so much. Whether they win, make the playoffs or not, it doesn't matter. And this Dallas team doesn't have a lot this year, and they're probably not going to have a lot moving forward, which makes this very, very difficult for them. So I think this team's just cursed and done. I'm going to take the points or lay the points with the Kings.
So don't get me wrong, I share the same opinions about the future. There have been estimates that they're projected to lose hundreds of millions of dollars from TV deals, jersey sales, ticket sales, marketing opportunities, all that stuff. I don't know if you saw this. There was a report that the Mavericks had lined up a bunch of I don't know if it was engagements or deals or one-offs, whatever, but they lined up opportunities with some of Luka's sponsors. And it was for the game where the Lakers came back, and they were prepared to do them that night. And Luka's team said, hey, kick rocks. You don't have our approval to do this. We don't play for you anymore. Luka plays for the Lakers. So the Mavericks, apparently, according to this report, lost 8 figures alone on that night because of that. And like I said, they're projected to lose a ton of money in the future. And it makes sense. People are going to start to boycott this team. So share the same opinion about the future. I'll take the Mavericks in this game. I'll take them outright, plus 160 underdogs. The Kings are just the true definition of mid. And Anthony Davis, he can give you 40 and 20. He can do it. They've got size, interior defense. Sacramento doesn't like to defend. They're not very creative offensively. It's a lot of ISO ball. So I'll take the Mavericks for that game, and then I will take them probably getting swept in the first round.
Now, if they do get to the Thunder.
Sorry. I don't even think they will make the first round. They'll probably lose in the play-in. Forgot they had the second game.
Let's just dream here. Let's just dream. Say they get to the first round. They're playing against the Thunder. What would have to happen for them to actually win that series?
Well, it would be bad for the Thunder in that the Thunder historically have struggled against size. Now they have Chet and Hartenstein, which helps them. But if the Mavericks are going to make that a competitive series, they just have to dominate the interior. You got to put out a lineup with Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis and PJ Washington and just let them run amok. You have to crash the offensive glass as hard as you possibly can. You got to commit fouls. You got to challenge every shot at the rim. You want every game to be 90 to 85.
Yep, and that's what they got to do. And you know what? There is a world, I guess, where if SGA doesn't get foul calls, they can make that happen. If the refs are not letting them play, they stand absolutely no chance in that series, and they probably stand no chance no matter what. But I think that would be a cool story, honestly, to see the Mavs competitive in that first round based on how everything has gone. I don't think it changes anyone's opinion on the trade or Nico or the future, but it's hard not to get behind Anthony Davis after getting traded from the Lakers. Like, that's a guy that I want to root for in the playoffs.
And also because he is the Dallas Mavericks fans have not been rude to him. I think they have accepted him, but they miss Luka. They would give him up in a heartbeat to get their guy back. In LA, Anthony Davis shows up first season there. They win a title. LeBron was still the guy, but Anthony Davis was loved there. He's not loved in Dallas.
No, and you're going from playing with LeBron to being the guy. I mean, Kyrie, I guess, but you're definitely looked to more now than you were. And he was looked, don't get me wrong, he was looked to with LeBron, but it was still LeBron's team and he was on it. Right now, moving forward, it's his team. And that's definitely different when you're replacing the guy who was the face of Dallas sports.
I'm face of Texas. Honestly, yeah. Mahomes is sitting courtside at the games.
Yeah, definitely. And Mahomes was hurt by it. So anyways, Grant, we got some series prices for the series that are set right now. Obviously, the 1 and the 2 seeds are not set, but let's start with the Lakers and the Timberwolves. You got Lakers minus 200, Timberwolves plus 160. I said it. If I was the Lakers, I did not want to face Anthony Edwards in the first round because he's capable of taking a series over. This is a tough matchup for the Lakers, in my opinion. But for minus 200, I don't think there's a series. Lean towards the Timberwolves at plus 160. I think the Lakers will win the series, but from a value perspective, Minnesota does have it here.
So I like this series to be over in 5 or 6 games. I'm not sure which one. I would set my line at 5.5, but that means I would set my series line at minus 2.5 for the Lakers. You can get them at minus 1.5 for plus money. So the odds makers are telling you this is a 7-game series. They think the Lakers will win game 7, but still a 7-game series. I disagree. If there's a team in the Western Conference with a better 3-man lineup to defend the Lakers than the Timberwolves, I don't know what it is. I think Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and Julius Randle are the best 3-man lineup, even better than what the Thunder have to offer. With that being said, I don't think it matters. We know that Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves are going to be able to play Rudy Gobert off the court. We just know that's what happens. It happens every playoffs. Gobert becomes unplayable. So then you're already acquiescing to what the Lakers want to do, which is to play small ball. So now you're giving into their style of play. And you're talking about Anthony Edwards has this ability. He does. He has this superstar ability. But if you throw out the opening night game, because that was the first time the Lakers and Timberwolves played, in the 3 games since then, Anthony Edwards averaged something like 19 points and 27% three-point shooting. Even bigger than that, Anthony Edwards this season, more than half of his field goal attempts were three-point attempts. In those last three matchups with the Lakers, that number fell to only 40% of his shots were from three. There's a clear point of emphasis from JJ Redick and the staff. We're going to send multiple bodies at him. We're going to make it hard for him to shoot those perimeter shots, make him uncomfortable. I think there's a huge spillover effect. Like, I think Mike Conley gets more minutes because he's going to be trying to shoulder more of the playmaking responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. But all this boils down to nobody can guard Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves when they are at their best. And when the Lakers are engaged, they have one of the best defenses in the sport. When you get to the final minutes of this game, the Timberwolves have been really bad in the clutch. The Lakers have been really good. I think this is a close 5 or 6 game series.
Is it a failure for the Lakers if they do not get to the conference finals and then ultimately at least make it a series with the Thunder?
Because they wouldn't play the Thunder until the conference finals, then it's absolutely a failure, yes. LeBron is expected to live in the NBA finals, and I guess that's kind of gone away recently, but if you look at his last years, they were in the NBA finals. They won the NBA finals. Next year, I believe, is the Solomon Hill year. They're in first place in the Western Conference, and then a role player dives into his ankle and sends him out for the season pretty much. The next year, they make it to the conference finals where they lose to the Nuggets. The next year, they lose to the Nuggets, who are the defending champions, and then we're at this year. That's not a bad playoff legacy. It's easy to forget because LeBron made the finals like 9-10 years in a row. It's easy to look at and be like, oh, he fell off. No, not really.
No, I mean, LeBron is still playing at an elite level. Now you got Luka Doncic in the mix, who can carry a team. I mean, Luka carried the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie to the NBA Finals. You don't even need LeBron in that sense, and LeBron's still going to contribute and be the guy. And then Austin Reeves, I mean, just the best story you're ever going to find in the NBA. That dude can ball unexpectedly, and that trio works really well together. I think the Lakers are going to the conference finals, and then if the Thunder are there, I think they can compete with them. If not, don't count out the Denver Nuggets right now, Grant. Here's my take on the Denver Nuggets moving this next series. We got Nuggets Clippers, Nuggets minus 135, Clippers plus 110. Stock market's crashing right now. Stock market's crashing. People are buying the dip. You know, you got all these analysts telling you when you should buy the dip. I think now is the time to buy the dip on the Denver Nuggets. They lose their head coach. They go on a very bad stretch, and then they win 3 games in a row to end the season. They still have Nikola Jokic. They still have a team that we were talking about a month ago as being a finals contender that could give OKC trouble. If they find that version of themselves, there's no reason they can't do that once again. So I think now would be the time to buy the dip on the Denver Nuggets. What do you think?
I'm with you on this one. I didn't expect this. People have pretty much been out on the Clippers since the first couple of Kawhi PG years. A lot of people are talking about the Clippers right now. You turn on ESPN or FS1 or any of these shows. Are the Clippers the most dangerous team in LA? Are the Clippers the biggest challenge to the Thunder? Can we pump the brakes a little bit? Like you said, this is just a moment where there's so much attention and momentum that's surging to one side. We're forgetting that Nikola Jokic did just win the finals 2 years ago. They were up by 20 points in game 7 of the conference semifinals last year. They choked, but whatever. They were still in that position. Jokic is the best player in the world. He averaged a 30-point triple-double this season. He can go out there and win games on his own. And like you said, they're 3-0 to close the season. Jamal Murray is back. Is he going to stay healthy? Who knows? But they have the pieces in place to make this run. I'm with you. I think this is a hard-fought series. I think it's a 6-7 game series, no doubt. But I'll give it to the Nuggets.
Well, Kawhi and James Harden go off in the final game of the season, and it's like the Clippers are the greatest thing ever. And that's what I'm saying. Like you were saying, ESPN talking about nonstop FS1 just because of a big game to end the year. Don't get me wrong. They can still pull it out when Kawhi needs to be playoff Kawhi. He can. Harden too. But Harden's more likely to have a big game and then disappear for the rest of the series, I think, at this point in his career than he is just to take over a series where I know Nikola Jokic is going to be able to take over a series. So just because they lose their coach, just because they struggle down the stretch does not mean they're out of the mix here. And I think they can easily win the series in 6 or 7 games.
So I wanted to ask you this question. I'm glad you mentioned his name. Do you think that this is the year James Harden silences the playoff doubters? He has Kawhi Leonard at his side. He has a good coach in Ty Lue. And despite what's going on, the Nuggets are still favored. So can he sneak in here and restore his reputation?
No. Because I've seen it too much, and it's hard to get the vision out of your head. Like when Harden's on, he's probably one of the most fun basketball players to watch. There is nothing like watching James Harden sink threes, pull up, foot, 3, 4, 5 feet beyond the line, making these crazy shots. At that, the same narrative too. He's going to show up the next night and not make them. And that's where I struggle. I don't think he can put together a complete series against a team that has this much experience and this much talent, because we're all writing off the Denver Nuggets when they still have the same experience and the same talent. And that's going to be the tough part for the Clippers. And who knows, the Clippers might fall flat in their face in game 1. And that doesn't mean the series is over. But when they're coming off such a dominant performance to end the year, and then they got to come right into this series, this is the situation, I think, where Nikola Jokic steps up, the Nuggets step up and punch him right in the mouth. And I think the first game easily goes to Denver, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the series. But I don't see Harden being that guy.
Can't argue with that.
So moving into the East here, we have Pacers versus Bucks. Pacers minus 200, Bucks plus 160. Situation where the Bucks are beat up right now with the dog money, going to the Pacers minus 200. Grant, how do you see this one playing out?
I think I would probably go Bucks plus 1.5 games if I had to, but a minus 140 mini future bet. It's not a long-term future, but regardless, I probably wouldn't take anything with the series. I'd probably look at this game to gain. Ultimately, I think the Pacers should win. The issue is that Giannis has been going galactic recently, and if there's a guy who can carry his team, I mean, Jokic, Giannis, and Luka are probably those 3 guys who you look at right now. It's like, yeah, they can win a couple of series just by themselves. And honestly, Giannis in this particular series, knowing the issues that Indiana has had with interior defense, he's probably your number 1 pick over Luka and over Jokic against this opponent to do that. Now, I do really worry about how the Bucks are going to hold up on defense. Without Dame there, it's going to be a lot of pressure on Giannis to handle some of the scoring responsibilities. But again, I think they could push it to 7 games. And if they get there and Giannis is averaging 35 and 14, then maybe he pulls out in the game 7.
There you go. Grant, can the Pacers or Bucks give the Cavs trouble in the conference semifinals? There we go. All right, let's move on then. Okay, so our final series here, which this one doesn't matter in my mind. Knicks minus 400, Pistons plus 310. I think the Knicks win this series in 6 games, but we know the Knicks can't compete with the Boston Celtics. So I will save the follow-up question of can they compete with the Celtics, because we know it's not happening. But how do you see this series playing out? Did the Pistons have any chance of upsetting the New York Knicks?
I think they have a chance. I think they have more of a chance than the plus 340 odds they're being given. I actually took a bet on this early when the prices first came out. I took them at plus 2.5 games in the series for minus 120 or so. It's up to minus 144 now. But you're telling me the Pistons just have to win twice when they went 3-1 in the season series? Jalen Brunson's averaging 21 points since he came back from his ankle sprain. Karl-Anthony Towns' impact really sort of trailed off towards the end of the year. Just makes a lot of sense here. This is a Pistons team that can get in there, muddy up the game. We kind of saw it with the Cavs Magic series last year. And granted, the Knicks are further along than the Cavs were last year. But it was like the favored team, the offensive team, and then you've got this team of young, defensive-minded guys with a coach who breeds a strong culture of togetherness, and they make it a 7-game series. They ultimately lose, but who cares if the Pistons lose in 7? They just got to win 2 games to cash this bet. So I would say the Pistons can absolutely keep it competitive. And when you're looking at this series price, again, 2.5 games still for solid odds, I think that's where the best bet lies.
Yeah, even at minus 144, I don't hate that. I think that's probably worth playing at this point, knowing they only have to win 2 games. That would be one of my favorite bets, I would say, of the series prices so far.
And Tanner, who is the best player in this series? There's an argument that it's Cade Cunningham.
I don't know. Jalen Brunson's a dog.
I say that because Brunson is injured. And like I said, 21 points per game since he came back from the ankle. I don't know if he's healthy / I don't know if he's found his rhythm since coming back.
Jalen Brunson's a dog. It's hard, even with an injury, to say that Jalen Brunson's not the best player in the series. Cade's unbelievable. And what this Pistons team has done has been unbelievable, going from where they were last year to this year. My fear is experience wins in the playoffs, and this Detroit team has no experience, and they're young and they're exciting. And there's something to be said for that they don't even know what it's like to be in the playoffs. And now they get this opportunity and they feel like they got nothing to lose. But on the flip side, you could look at the Thunder last year, youngest team, lit the world on fire, and then they get knocked out early. So I don't know if we're going to get a Pistons team that shows up and has absolutely no fear, or a Pistons team that looks like, hey, this is the same old Pistons as last year. That's where the 2.5 gets a little tough. I think the Knicks, if they win it in 5 games, it wouldn't surprise me, because that shows that the Pistons just weren't necessarily ready to take that next step.
That's my biggest concern as well. I feel you on that. But I do like that they have JB Bickerstaff, who, funny enough, I was mentioning the Cavs, was the coach of the Cavs last year. And also they do have some veterans on the roster. They lean on their young guys, no doubt, but they don't have to win the series. They just got to get it to 6 games.
Yep. So, Grant, before we wrap up here, I want you to give the people your best bet for the series price, whether it's a spread, whether it's a team. And I'm okay with some juice here. You want to take minus 200 for a team, go for it. Don't let it lose, though. I'll say that.
I will take I think my 2 favorite major market series bets are the Pistons plus 2.5. And I'll take the Lakers minus 1.5. I don't think it's going 7. I mean, you said I'll go up to minus 200. Okay, I'll take the Lakers at minus 196, but I wouldn't bet that. I'll take them minus 1.5 games for plus 112.
There it is. Well, guys, that was Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment, breaking down the NBA playoffs. We're going to be back on Friday talking about the games, looking ahead to the actual playoff series a little bit more, diving into game 1, game 2 of those series. But Grant, why don't you take us out of here for the day?
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Please check out WSN.com if you want some bonuses from the sports books, expert analysis on games, series, and season previews, all that stuff over there. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, jump in the comments, let us know who you are betting on in the play-in tournament. And until next time, we will catch you all in the next episode of Ride the Line.